Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd do a dedicated video on this subject matter of Ghostface and the person behind the Ghostface mask, and the reason for that is because I've done my recent Who Killed Who in my series of Who Killed Who in the Scream series, and I always say at the beginning of the Who Killed Who's that the Ghostface, the characteristics behind the Ghostface character, the height of Ghostface, the grunting, the manly grunting, none of that matters when deciding who killed who. So for example, if you hear a male grunt, then you automatically assume that it's a male character. No, you don't have to do that because that's just a character trait of Ghostface and not the killers behind the Ghostface mask. That's something that Wes Craven always done in his movies, and that carried on to Radio Silence's Scream 5 and Scream 6. So when you're guessing who the killer is, never look at the height as a guesstimate of who you think's behind the mask. Never look at the hand that they're using. None of that matters because we know that Amber is a 5'2", but she towers over Dewey in one of the scenes and she towers over a couple of others when it's supposed to be her. That's the fun of Scream movies. That's the fun of Ghostface. Wes Craven knew that. That was Wes Craven's intention, and it followed on with Radio Silence. That's absolutely fine. We can all accept that. So when I think that, say, Mrs. Loomis threw CC Cooper over the balcony, that's fine. It's not actually Mrs. Loomis that's doing it personally, it's Ghostface that's doing it. We can believe that it's Mrs. Loomis because that's who we think it is. She's stronger when she's got the Ghostface costume on, not because it's supernatural, but because it's a Ghostface trait and we're not supposed to know. If we look at Ghostface as being 5'2" and not being able to lift anything or do anything, we can automatically assume that it's going to be someone like Amber or Tara that's going to be behind that mask. So we're not allowed to know or guess for those reasons. And the same goes for the mannerisms and their skills, and that's what I really want to talk about, because I assumed or guessed that the killer in the bodega scene in Scream 6 was Ethan. I gave a really good explanation as to why I think it's Ethan, and I had a lot of people say, no, it's not Ethan, it's Detective Bailey. And I'm like, well, why do you think it's with Detective Bailey? And they say it was because the way he's handling a shotgun. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? If this Ghostface is supposed to be able to handle a shotgun, then we automatically assume that it has to be a law enforcement officer. It has to be either Kirby or Detective Bailey. But if we're going by that, then we have to go by height as well. So we can assume that it's not Kirby, it's Bailey. So if we have to guess based on how they move, the height that they are, then they would definitely give it away, and it wouldn't make it a whodunit movie because you're not supposed to know for those reasons. Now, with all that being said, you will get people saying, but that's what Radio Silence said in a Variety interview that they done. They said that was Bailey because the way he handled the shotgun. They didn't say that. I read the whole interview, and yes, they said those words, but what they were saying was if they were fans of the film, if they were guessing, then they would assume that because of the way he handles a shotgun, I would assume or guess that it's Detective Bailey. So they're only giving us a fun guess as if they were us and they were seeing the movie through our eyes. They didn't say, in that scene, that was Detective Bailey. They didn't say it, they didn't intend it that way. No way, no sir. They also had Ethan, the actor playing Ethan, dressed up as Ghostface in a scene. And that's not to say that he was Ghostface. He wanted to put the Ghostface mask on in any scene so they can feel like being Ghostface. And they thought, let's put him in this scene, put him in the Ghostface mask, in the Ghostface costume. Yes, maybe that was intended to be Ethan, but that wasn't the reason for it. They just put him in the costume at that point because they could. They didn't require a stunt person at that point, so they put him in it. And it was probably because of his body build. He was a generic body build. If you put Quinn in that costume, you would definitely know because of her height. And if you put Bailey in the costume, he can't really run that fast, unfortunately, because it's Dermot Mulroney. And he's got a bit of a gut on him, so you couldn't put Dermot Mulroney in the costume because you would be able to tell that it's him. Whereas when you put Ethan behind the costume, you're none the wiser because his build is an average build, so no one really cares. It is funny though when people say, well, we're using these characteristics to determine who the killer is, and they use Bailey as the example at the bodega. And they fail to remember that just minutes before, if we were going by the characteristics and the movements and stuff, if we're going by Bailey being able to handle this shotgun, and he's a police officer, of course he'd be able to do it. If you rewind 2 minutes, he couldn't outmuscle 2 girls in a street. This is the same Ghostface that was getting one-to-one, hand-to-hand combat, and they beat him, and they ran to the bodega, and he chased after them. So how's Detective Bailey's characteristics coming into play in the bodega or not outside when it's a lot easier for him to handle? So you have to question that part. If you're going to use characteristics and all of those traits, you're going to have to do it throughout the entire series. So when you look at Quinn being able to outpower Brooks and outmuscle him, that's not really possible. And then you've got Quinn grunting like a man. How is that possible? She's just a young girl. She wouldn't be able to do that. So there's so many things that happen throughout the series that you don't use their characteristics, you don't use what hand they use, you don't use their height, you don't use their sex, their build, you don't take any of that into consideration, and that is the intention of every single Scream movie, including Scream 5 and Scream 6. Not Scream 6, Scream 6. So when Radio Silence are giving their little fun guesses, that's not them confirming anything. They haven't done that, and they wouldn't do that. Neither did Wes Craven, and neither would he do that. In future movies for Scream, whoever directs Scream 7, they will do the exact same thing. They'll guess for fun, as if they are not the directors, but they will never give away who's behind that mask or why, because that takes away the whodunit aspect. If they then start putting the characteristics into Ghostface, they have to do it in future movies. So if you've got a 5'1" Ghostface in Scream 7 and it sounds like a girl, then all bets are off, and we ain't going to guess it's anyone else other than Tara, or someone that gets introduced into Scream 7 that's got the same build as Tara. So don't take any of that into consideration, and in future, when you are reading interviews, really sit back and take the interview in and listen to it, because it's not what they mean. I don't mean disrespect to anyone who took that the wrong way when they were reading the interview, but the interview was pretty clear and pretty obvious that they weren't telling us that it was Bailey in the bodega. But with all that being said, that doesn't mean I'm right, and it doesn't mean it's not Bailey. I'm just saying that that was my guess. I'm just answering all these questions that are coming to me in that Scream video that I thought I'd do one video on it all. So if you want to continue talking about it, maybe talk about it on this one, because I'm sick to death of having to comment the exact same thing over and over again. It's tiresome, but hey ho. So with all that being said, guys, am I talking rubbish? Did you read the interview and think, yep, they confirmed that it's Bailey? And do you also think that the characteristics are important for the villains in Scream? And if it is so, then how do you explain all the kills in all the movies previously of all the people? Because you can't make heads or tails of that at all. But leave your comments down below, guys. Let me know what you think. I know there's no wrong answer, so don't worry about it. If I get into a debate with you, it's not because I'm arguing with you, it's because we're having a debate. That's what it's all about. Words are different when you're talking, so don't take offence if I reply back to you that things that I don't agree. Yes, I don't agree, but it's just a debate. Let's stay calm. As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
To get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back seat! Tell me where you are, John!
Wolfman's got a knife!